As of today, Donald Trump has been arraigned on 78 criminal charges across 3 different cases. But there is still, sort of unbelievably, a fourth shoe that may drop in Fulton County, Georgia. The district attorney there, Fani Willis, says she is ready to announce her charging decisions, and nothing is going to get in her way of doing that.
Have you read it?
I have reviewed it, yes.
Anything surprise you in there?
No.
Are you coordinating with the special counsel's office at all?
I'm not going to comment on our investigation at this time.
How much overlap is there between what you're planning to do and what's in the special counsel's investigation or indictment?
I mean, obviously, we're concentrating on Georgia and things that impacted Georgia.
Does it have any bearing on your investigation at all?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Does it affect what you're planning to do?
No.
Okay.
Now, Willis has said she will announce any potential indictment before September 1st. And to that end, her office has announced that some roads will be closed around the courthouse beginning August 7th. Joining me now is Greg Bluestein, political reporter for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Greg saw 16 fake Georgia Republican electors gather behind closed doors on December 14th, 2020, which was the day the state's official electors were casting the state's 16 official electoral votes for president. The special counsel's indictment alleges that the Republican electors Greg saw gather behind that door were casting fraudulent ballots for Donald Trump at Trump's direction. And that December 14th meeting has piqued DA Willis's interest as well. Greg, thanks for being here. I know another journalist, I believe, has been subpoenaed by the DA to talk about that moment on December 14th. And I'd love to know, just when you saw that happening, what did you think was going on behind that door?
Well, I was completely surprised because I had actually written a story about the elector meetings in Georgia, because of course it was a major deal in Georgia that Joe Biden was about to be formally elected by Georgia electors, Democratic electors in Atlanta. And I had called some Republican electors just in case. I caught wind that there might be something going on, and several of them said on the record there was no such meeting. So when I was on my way walking up the Capitol steps on the second floor up to the state Senate chambers, I was shocked to see some familiar Republican faces. And when I went up to that door 216 in the second floor of the state Capitol, and knocked on the door and looked and said, "What's going on in here?" One of the GOP officials, one of the fake electors, said, "Oh, we're just having the educators meeting," and kicked me out. And I had to get upstairs. And it wasn't until a few minutes later that I've realized what they were doing, and they were actually holding a fake electors meeting.
Yeah, well, the secrecy and, to be honest, the lies that they told you about the subject of this meeting, what was actually going to pass behind that door, really doesn't. I mean, what do you make of that reality that you witnessed, and the contention that these fake electors thought they were doing everything above board, that they didn't really realize they were part of any kind of potentially criminal plot?
Yeah, now the narrative is they were being transparent and open, but we know at the time they were doing anything but that. You know, they had not told us in the media. It wasn't like they sent a press release saying that they're going to be meeting at noon on December day. Instead, we know from the January 6th Commission that the Trump staffers had sent emails to the fake electors asking them to act in complete secrecy, and even shield it from Georgia state troopers who were reporting to Governor Brian Kemp. They didn't want the governor knowing about it.
Yeah, well, Greg, I have to say, there is so much renewed interest in exactly what was happening with the fake electors, given the indictment that was handed down earlier this week. Just the breadth of the plot, the nefarious nature of some of the plot, and the fact that this is kind of the bedrock of the case against Trump is what these fake electors did. We know that there's some overlap between the federal case that Jack Smith has put together and what we're hearing down in Fulton County from DA Willis's office. What is the expectation about when that indictment may come out? We, have this reporting that some of the roads around the courthouse are going to be closed August 7th. Can you give us any insight? What are you hearing?
Well, first, you heard from the DA herself just saying it's a separate track. Yet there's still overlap between the federal case and what she's looking at. We know that she's also that both federal investigators and her investigation has both contacted Governor Kemp and Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger. We're expecting within weeks this investigation to reach a conclusion. All signs, of course, point to Donald Trump indictment. We're expecting this. I'm not expecting it imminently within the next few days, but really within the next 2 weeks. And the DA has said herself on the record that we will have a decision before Labor Day, before September 1st.
Greg, is there any sense of trepidation about the overlap between the federal case and the state case here? Because there's certainly a lot of witnesses in common, and traditionally the federal criminal cases supersede, if you will, a state case. Do you sense that there's going to be any deference to that tradition when it comes to DA Willis?
You know, when the DA was asked about this a couple of days ago, she joked that Jack Smith wouldn't even recognize her, and she wondered whether he would even be able to pronounce her name right. So she's going to proceed on her own track. There's no sort of overseer who it gets to determine the guidelines for what cases go when. I'm not sure, how the court scheduling could conflict with a federal case and a Georgia case. We know there'll be all sorts of pretrial litigation anyway. But Fani Willis has said over and over again that she's determined to move forward, and she's conducting her own independent investigation separate from the feds.
Well, just to be clear, I was speaking with Tish James, now a month ago, and she said very plainly, if the federal case comes out in August, then I will adjourn, Alvin Bragg will adjourn, and Fani Willis. We're going to adjourn our cases in deference to the federal case. But it does not sound like that memo got to DA Willis's desk. Is that an accurate assessment?
Yeah, and we asked her aides around that same time if that was actually the case, because it looked like the Georgia case would be indefinitely delayed, and we were given the signal, nope, they're going to move forward. And remember, this has been going on for years now, and the special grand jury met for months. I don't think her timeline is going to be affected by anyone else's timeline.
Well, I mean, it is going to be really interesting to see how these indictments intersect with one another and overlap. Greg Bluestein from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, witness to the fake electors meeting on December 14th of 2020, a man with much knowledge. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.